All right, welcome everyone from Roster Wars to the United Nations Rookie Summit. I'm your host Corbin with co-hosts Ross and Tyler. How we doing, boys?
I'm doing very well. My mouth isn't full, so I'll kick off. It's an exciting position group we've got. This is the premium guys. This is the one who's all tune in for. Linebackers maybe not got as much pop last week, but this is the one you all want.
Absolutely. Today we're talking wide receivers, and this is an absolutely crazy talented class. We are just getting off our episode with the International Football Bros where we did a mock draft. We had a little bit of discussion about some of the receivers going in the high first, early second rounds of the of our rookie draft. So tune in to the International Football Bros podcast. We're going to break down these wide receivers in a little bit more detail. How are you feeling about it, Tyler? Are you fed and ready to go?
I'm still eating, but I will go over last year and then you guys can start with the new ones and I'll eat some more.
All
Sound
right,
good?
sounds good. Let's hear it.
last year, last year we went over JSN, uh, whatever, Jackson and Jigba, uh, Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, Downs, and Hyatt. In the order we picked last year, we all had the same order. We all picked Njigba, Johnson, Addison, Downs, and Hyatt in that order.
I picked QJ over Addison. You sure?
You did.
Hmm. I don't know what
You
the hell
did.
I was thinking. Must have been smoking
So,
something before I made that pick
so
on the
I will
show.
do
But
my reorder of that for myself, and then you two can do yours, and then I'll do our sleepers. My reorder is I'd go Addison, then Njigba, then Johnson, then Downs, and Hyatt.
hmm. Go ahead, Ross. I'll follow your lead.
Yeah, I'm just trying to process in my head how that works. But yeah, I actually agree. I know Quentin Johnson was horrible. He's terrible. He will remain terrible, and he's not going to be good. But he's a first round wide receiver, and they get chance after chance after chance to be good. So there's a small chance that he does turn out to be something. So I'll still have him at three sorry, behind Addison. Sorry, I'm talking nonsense. I also have Jackson Smith and Jigba number one. Jackson Smith and Jigba number one. I think he has the potential to be a wide receiver one. Jordan Addison's blocked for the next 4 years of his rookie contract, whatever it takes, behind Justin Jefferson. So I think he's maybe a bit limited as a wide receiver too. Although I do like the player. Big teardrop. Quentin Johnson, first round pick. He's going to get as many chances as he can. Then after that, you've got Downs and Hyatt. Hyatt, secondary player. I don't even care about him at all. And Downs, I just struggle to see him becoming fantasy relevant. Top 36, maybe he's got a chance to sneak in there one year, but I don't see it with Pittman there. And then they're probably going to draft another wide receiver. So, yeah, I'll stick with that. JSN, Addison, Johnston, Downs, Hyatt.
Yep. I'm going with the same order. I mean, I love Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he's the most talented. Addison probably had the best year out of the entire class. I mean, outside of Puka Nakua, of course. But Addison obviously showed a lot. Don't know what they're going to do at quarterback with Kirk Cousins leaving town, so that's a big question mark. And as of a couple of days ago, I probably would have told you I would take Josh Downs over QJ, but with the departure of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, it's hard to put Downs over QJ, even though I just don't like the guy. I never drafted him in any league. We'll see if the Chargers take another first round guy, maybe like a Malik Neighbors or a Roma Dunze could be available. And then Jalen Hyatt, I mean, he's waiver fodder at this point. He's nothing.
Right. So then move on to our sleepers. Sorry, my voice is really screwed up. Um, so Ross took with his sleeper, he took some guy named Puka Nakua, and he was drafted in the fifth round. And his stats for the year were okay. He played 17 games. He had 105 receptions, a 1,486 yards, and six TDs. So not bad for a sleeper pick.
Yeah,
He,
it was
he
all
did.
right.
He did okay. He did okay. Corbin had picked Jonathan Mingo. Sorry, by the way. We all know Puka Nacua was drafted by Los Angeles Chargers.
Rams.
So Corbin Rams. Jonathan Mingo was drafted by the Carolina Panthers in the second round. He played 15 games. He had 43 receptions. He had 418 yards and 0 touchdowns. And then I picked the guy who was, weird. That's what I do. He was drafted round 6 by the Cincinnati Bengals. He's got the weirdest name. It's like Andre Iosevis. I still don't understand how to say it.
Iasovis.
Iosevis? Yeah.
Yoshivas.
Yeah,
Sure.
I just made it up. So
Sure. He had 9 games, 15 receptions, 116 yards, but he had 4 TDs. So he's an exciting watch. Now we'll get to the new ones, and I will eat my PB&J.
all right, you have at it, and I will defend my Mingo sleeper pick because on the International Football Bros podcast, Ross had some things to say about Mingo, called him a bust. I disagree. He's just a rookie wide receiver. Wow, I just cannot talk today. I just spent everything on the International Football Bros. But yeah, I mean, he's just a rookie last year. Obviously, with Bryce Young, he had some of his own issues, but they're both young. They're going to grow together, and I'm defending that Mingo pick. I still think he was a solid addition. That was before I knew he was going to be, I think the first pick of the second round too. So
Yeah, he was drafted in a perfect spot for fantasy opportunity, and he didn't produce. So I'm still on the non-Mingo bandwagon. I don't know what
no,
you'd call that, but I'd like a little bit of time to do a victory lap for Puka Nacua. I mean, Tyler, you got like a full episode when you picked CJ Stroud, but I took a guy who got picked in the 5th round, and now not mentioned. So I'm very happy with that pick. There's a lot of big shoes to fill my sleeper pick in this episode. So we'll see if I can back it up.
yep, you look like a bloody genius with that one, Ross. Props to you,
Hey.
honestly. Puka Nacua. I'm sure he wasn't on anybody's radar, and you got it. Spot on.
Maybe you need to change your name to Puka Nacua #1 or something.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
All right, well, let's hop into this week's episode. This year, we've got, like I said earlier, a crazy talented wide receiver group. We'll be covering Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, Malik Neighbors out of LSU, Roma Dunze from Washington, Brian Thomas from LSU, and Keon Coleman from Florida State. We also have got some sleeper picks as well. So without further ado, let's kick it off with Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, 21 years old. He's a junior coming out, measured in at 6'3", 209 pounds. Really didn't do much at the combine. We're waiting for some pro day numbers to come out until we get a nice RAS score for him, but it's not really necessary because what you see on the tape is absolutely insane. Last year, he had 67 catches for 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. 2022, even better, 77 catches for 1,260 yards and 14 touchdowns. So that is 2 years of solid production. I mean, what's not to like about this guy? Is he the no-brainer first wide receiver off the board?
Yeah, absolutely. When you see these guys who are generational and they've been sort of promised for a couple of years now because everyone saw it as soon as he started playing full time for Ohio State. He's just an effortless athlete. He looks like he's jogging out there most of the times, and he's actually really fun to watch. Looks like he's having fun himself, but he does run routes at full speed, and I think he's really efficient with his movement as well. That's maybe what makes him look good to watch as well, and he's just always open as well. I think he had worse QB play this year, but he was able to sort of adjust to badly thrown balls, and he just tracks the ball well downfield. He's got great hands as well. No problem extending away from his frame. So he's got pretty much everything. And I think, although we don't have the athleticism sort of numbers, I think he is fast. I've got no problem with that side of his game, and he's like a complete player. Like you said, he's a no-brainer pick as the top wide receiver for me anyway.
Yeah, I didn't write a lot about him. I watched his video. Been watching him all year. I mean, yeah. He looks like his father. He's amazing. So I've already said it in the thing. I'll do whatever it takes to get him in Rising Rookies. So aside from trading Stroud, but
Damn,
I'm playing
okay.
playing my hand right there. Everybody knows it's mine. Or you guys just let him fall to me at 9. Sound good?
Yeah,
Sound good.
I don't think
All
that's
right,
going to happen.
deal. Everybody, deal.
Yeah, I mean, don't overthink this one, guys. Marvin Harrison Jr., you could argue that he could be taken at 101 in rookie drafts. I mean, he is that talented. I mean, he's got the prototypical size. He's got great hands. Contested catches, no problem. He's got the speed on tape. Route running's elite. Tracks the ball in the air well. He's got a good release. I mean, he looks just like his dad, Marvin Harrison Sr., for the Colts playing with Peyton Manning. I mean, the landing spot is going to be the most interesting thing for me because I could see him going, either third overall to the Patriots, or if he goes to the Cardinals, that would be even more ideal now that they've moved on from Hollywood Brown. Matching him with Kyler Murray would be pretty golden for fantasy. So, I mean, you see it like statistically. I mean, he's producing for 2 straight years despite constant double teams. And you look at all the prospects that Ohio State has produced. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba, JMO, just in the past couple of years. And I mean, he has the chance to be the best out of all of them. So, I mean, you really have to dig to find any weaknesses in his game. I mean, I guess you could say, he's not the fastest wide receiver in the world. He's not like a Tyreek Hill or anything like that. But based on GPS data, I mean, they got him at approximately like low 4.3s. So, I mean, he's just that good. Don't overthink it. Just take him.
Yeah, I don't see that an issue with his speed at all.
No.
I think that's the most important thing for me as well. Obviously, he's not a 4.3 or maybe a 4.2 athlete, let's say. But like he's got enough speed on the field throughout his routes and also yards after the catch. He can speed away from defenders, and that's what you want to see, especially at
Yep.
the college level, so that you can hang with the NFL defenders.
Yep.
Yeah, I think one reason the Patriots could be a big time player in getting him is they, I know Bill's gone and most of his coach staff or whatever, but that brass there, that anybody who's been in New England for the last 25 years, like Kraft, they seen his father firsthand what he did to the Patriots and what he did for Indianapolis. So, because there's a lot of battles there, which is one reason I think the Patriots are keen on getting him. But yeah,
as
he's
they
just
should.
he's an amazing wide receiver. Can't lose.
Yeah, it depends on their flavor. If they like Drake May or Jaden Daniels, but if their guy goes to the Commanders, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes third overall to the Patriots. I mean, I even have a future in. I got some pretty good odds. I'd have to check back and see what it is that he'd go third overall. But yeah, I like my chances. I mean, he's one of the better wide receiver prospects we've seen coming out of college, and I mean, that's in company with like Jamar Chase, who I mean, where did he go again? Was it 5th or 7th? I can't remember. Yeah,
5 to Cincinnati, I think.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I think everyone's familiar with Jamar Chase's game. I mean, he's really not that far off. He is a great wide receiver to have, and he's definitely the crown jewel of this class. But I mentioned a couple other guys we're going to be talking about, and we'll start with Malik Neighbors, and him and Rome Odunze are not far behind Marvin Harrison Jr., and I mean, I think that's just a testament to how savvy this class is. So Malik Neighbors coming out of LSU, only 20 years old and a junior coming out. He measures in at 6 foot flat, 200 pounds, no combine testing either, so now, no RAS score for us to give to you, but last year he had 89 catches for 1,569 yards and 14 touchdowns, runner-up for the Biletnikoff Award for college football's best wide receiver. 2022, he had 72 catches for 1,000 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, some solid production in 2022. Obviously, 2023, he blew up. But I mean, he's another great get, and I mean, he's making his argument to be that second wide receiver taken in the top 10 this year.
Yeah, I really like him as well. I think first thing you notice when you watch him is speed. He's just lightning quick, and he's great at running routes. Again, full speed. He's fast in and out of his breaks, and he can find sort of an extra gear mid route as well, and just get an extra couple of yards of separation. He just separates so easily. He obviously uses that speed as well to get yards after the catch, and I think it's a bit more than just speed though. Like he seems smart and he can sort of set up defenders and find space as well to really make the most of his talent there. And he can catch the ball as well. Some of these speedsters you see that they can't catch, but he can do it all. Tracks the ball downfield. He had a really high average depth of target in that LSU offense as well. And because of that, sort of the cornerback sort of gave him a big cushion because they were scared of his deep speed. But he used that to be really good in short area and over the middle as well. Just that one step and go and catch the ball over midfield and ease away yards after the catch. So didn't see really many things that he was bad at. And like you said, I think it's maybe choose what you like. Maybe your type of wide receiver that you want to add to the room between him and obviously Harrison and Odunze I'd put in there as well. So yeah, really good player. He's going to go really high. I think a lot of mock drafts have the top 6 being 3 wide receivers, 3 quarterbacks. I can see that happening. So if you're picking a guy in the top 6, he's got to go high in fantasy drafts as well.
Yeah, like you guys said, his route running and his quickness, and he just finds a way to get open. He's a tricky wide receiver. He's got some bags in his tricks in his bags to get open. Great with the run after catch. The only thing I've seen is his size could hurt him from being able to play the outside, so he might be destined for slot. But yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't say that he'd be destined for slot because 6 foot, 200 pounds. I mean, you're pretty thick, and I mean, you could see the way that. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned like his yards after catch. I mean, when he has the ball in his hands, he is electric, and I mean, it's more than just the speed. I mean, he has like a surprising amount of power when he has the ball in his hands. We talked about the speed. I mean, that's obviously like the biggest part of his game, but it's the quickness. How quick he gets out of those breaks, how fast he can just start and stop like on a dime. I mean, in terms of like, and he isn't the most physical wide receiver, which is probably my knock on him. Like, if you got a physical man cover corner, like he could struggle, get jammed at the line or something like that. But I mean, when you see him go up for the ball, I mean, he just has crazy hops. Like, I mean, he can just jump out of the gym. He tracks the ball really well. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much like everything about him. I mean, I could see him being utilized in the slot maybe at the beginning, but I mean, he's not your prototypical X by any means, but you still see 6 foot, 200-pound wide receivers line up on the outside and not have any issues.
Yeah, I think that your thing with press man, seeing how he does against that, you don't really get many guys in college able to do that. So you don't really see it that often at all. So I think in a lot of these guys, that's what I want to find out. That's the piece of the puzzle that I don't have, especially when it comes to neighbours. Like you said, I think uh, the guys are giving him like 8 to 10 yards cushion every time, and that's because he's speed and he's sort of
Hmm.
deep threat. But I'd like to see him in the NFL, see if he does get 2 hands in his chest with Sauce Gardner. What's he going to do?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, it's before he catches the ball that concerns me in terms of his physicality. Like, when he
Yep.
gets off the line, if he gets jammed, like, once he gets the ball, like, I have no problem with the balls in the air and he's jumping up and it's a one-on-one. Like, he could pluck that ball out of there and, take it to the house. But, yeah, like I said, it's just before the catch that concerns me slightly. I mean, and like I said, I mean, I'm nitpicking with these guys. I mean, they're elite. When you got a wide receiver taken in the top 10, you really got to hunt for some flaws. So that was the one thing that I kind of came away with, something that he can improve on. But yeah, I love me some Malik Neighbors, and I think anybody be lucky to get him with that 5th overall pick after Marvin Harrison Jr. and the run on the quarterbacks in a rookie draft. So let's move on to our next guy here. We're breezing through these guys, but honestly, I mean, there's not much to say because, I mean, they're kind of just no-brainers. You can look at any mock draft, and they are accurate. It's not really come down to pick your poison, but I'd say between Malik Neighbors and Roma Dunze, it's pretty close. It just depends on your flavor, like Ross said. So Roma Dunze is coming out of Washington, 21 years old, a junior coming out. measured in at 6'2", 212 pounds. Now, we did get a RAS score on Roma Dunze, and it is impressive. A 9.91 out of 10. He's got elite speed, a 4.45 40, great explosion and agility scores. Last year, 2023, 87 catches for 1,550 yards and 13 touchdowns. 2022, 75 catches for 1,145 yards and 7 touchdowns. So, unlike Malik Neighbors, I think that Roma Dunze profiles a little bit more as your traditional X. So, I mean, he's got a lot of talent. What do you guys think about him?
I love Odunze.
Yeah,
Go for it, Tyler. Go for it.
yeah. I got very fast. He's just a freakish athlete with his speed and his size and his reach. He's an amazing route runner and excellent hands, very versatile. Some of the knocks I've seen on him are he tends to, he's got elite speed, but sometimes he just doesn't show it. Sometimes he just kind of goes through the motions. Sometimes he can struggle off the line if he's up against a bigger corner. And then, for such a big guy that's such a freakish athlete, the agility, it just doesn't seem to be what you would think could be at, So there's that. And then for all the speed he has, the get going, the acceleration needs some work as well. But like you said with Neighbors, this is like nitpicking stuff that just needs to be worked on because he's kind of like right there with Neighbors. So yeah. Anyway, Ross, go ahead.
Yeah, I love Odunze. I think he's got the best hands in the class. Out of the three guys, obviously, like you said, you're trying to see what sort of profile they fit. I think he's got the best hands. He's got elite ball tracking ability down the field as well. He does it over any shoulder, and obviously you had Michael Penix in college, who's great at throwing deep. But Odunze was part of that. He was it was a symbiotic relationship. He was helping Penix, and Penix was helping him. He's really physical. I think he was built in a lab for what I love in receivers. He's really physical. He fights through contact and he sort of boxes out defenders as well to create space. He turns like 50-50 balls into like 70-30s. Penix would just like throw it near him and he just come down with it. And I think he can operate on all three levels of the field as well. I would disagree with Tyler in that his agility. I think his agility is one of the best things he's got. I think he's a rare athlete in that sense that we don't really talk about as much. Obviously, you've got the high RAS score, but out of the combine, we're talking about Worthy and Thomas and Mitchell. But Odunze was putting up really good scores. He was like 91st percentile in the short shuttle, and that's at like 212 pounds. It's not like a weight adjusted score as well. That's like 91st percentile, even the 168 pound guys. And just to typify that, he had a punt return touchdown against Cal. So there's not many guys at that size returning punts. And my comp, I don't have a comp for many guys, but for him, I see Keenan Allen plus. Keenan Allen with more athleticism. And I think he's going to be a quarterback's best friend at the next level. Love him. I hope he falls to 10 at the Jets, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that comp. I mean, Keenan Allen, I think he ran like a 4.6 or 4.7 40, so he's like a faster Keenan Allen, and and it shows with his hands because, I mean, he has the ability to go out and get it and catch those, like those 10 receptions every single game. So, I mean, the difference between him and Neighbors is so marginal. I would say, just to kind of sum it up, and I would like to see, that's why I'm so interested in Malik Neighbors' testing numbers, is because Roma Dunze could be just as fast and a better jump ball specialist than Neighbors. But the way I see it now is Neighbors is more of that speedy, quick guy, and Odunze is more of that jump ball specialist. Not to say that Neighbors can't do those things because, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, watch the tape. I mean, I agree with you, Ross. I think that his agility is insane. The stop, start, being able to get out of his breaks, like it's all there. I mean, and when it comes to, when the ball is in the air, just making those adjustments, tracking the ball, jumping out of the gym to get it. I mean, his ball skills are just elite. Controlling the body, everything that he does is just fantastic. So, I mean, it really is probably going to come down to landing spot for me with these guys, and I don't like to do that just because I think that talent typically always prevails no matter where you go. But I think that a lot of the NFL sees Neighbors as that bona fide number 2 guy. So if you get like a Neighbors going to the Giants and you get an Odunze going to the Chargers, then I'm taking Odunze 10 times out of 10 over Neighbors in that situation. So, I mean, there are like a couple of things that he needs to clean up. He's such a great natural talent. So there are some things to refine. I mean, whether it's in his routes, and Tyler did mention a good point that he likes to use his size to win. And so if he can learn to use his speed a little bit more, and then when he needs the size, like he's always got it in the bag. So, I mean, there's a couple of things to clean up here and there, but I think it's all coachable. You know, when you have a natural talent like that, I mean, it's pretty close with him and Neighbors. I keep going back and forth, and I really just think it depends on where each of them go before I can make a decision on who's the better prospect.
Yeah, if he goes to the Chargers, I could see that being a pick that Harbaugh likes, like a bigger physical receiver rather than the speedier guy. So yeah, I can see that being the case. And like you said, spot is going to be important when we start to rank these guys. Obviously, we're going to rank them later on with no teams, but yeah, it's very close. But I love
Yeah.
Odunze personally. I would have him. Well, we're going to get to rankings later, so I won't spoil it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Harbaugh got the up close and personal look at him in the national championship. So, yeah, he's got a decision to make about that, and you can't go wrong with either of those two guys. But let's move on here, and it's a little bit of a teardrop, I think, at this point with Odunze, Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Those are the top 10 guys, no questions asked. But we'll talk about Brian Thomas here and a couple other guys. I think that they're all in the similar tier. This is like the second tier drop, and I think Brian Thomas is still going to be, a mid-first round pick, probably somewhere between 10 and 20. He's coming out of LSU as well with Neighbors, his running mate, 21 years old, junior coming out, measured in at 6'2", 209 pounds. His RAS score, elite, 9.97 with a 4.33 40 elite explosion and no agility numbers for him, but only 1 year of solid production. Last year he finished with 68 catches for 1170 yards and 17 touchdowns. 2022, nothing to write home about. 31 catches for 361 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he kind of, is similar to Rome Odunze, I mean, I think that you can see a lot of similarities between those two, so it's not too far off. What do you guys think about him?
Yeah, I like Brian Thomas as well. We're going to get a broken record. I like all these guys, but it is a good class. So we're not just being boring and say we like everyone, but I think he does have a sort of ideal NFL build. I would say right now he's an excellent deep threat receiver. He's got the great route running to create enough separation. And obviously, he's got the speed to pull away in open field. And he's a good catcher of the ball. He tracks the ball well and is able to catch it. I think he can work in all 3 levels of the field. He has the ability to do that. I don't think he's good as Odunze, for example, right now, but he is physical enough where he can win in multiple ways. He can sort of break tackles after the catch, and obviously he can high point the ball as well and win in contested situations. Where I think he could be really good early on is a red zone player. I think he'd be a dominant red zone player. You've seen it already. He caught a lot of touchdowns, and a lot of them were long touchdowns on deep balls, but when he's in the slot in the red zone, he can use his feet to get open quickly and use his big frame and his body control to finish and score touchdowns. So really good. I think he's got the upside to be a complete wide receiver. I don't think he's there just yet, and that's maybe why he's maybe in the tier just below. But right now, he can come into the NFL, excel as a deep threat, and build up his skills in other areas to be a complete player.
Yeah. Sorry.
Just get a drink of water, bud.
No, I choked the other day, and my voice has been shot. Comes and
I thought it was
goes.
from yelling at the hockey game or something.
No, I was choking on a bagel. I was watching a movie called Ricky Stenicki. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
Yeah,
It just
I
came
heard
out.
of it. Yeah, it was
It
like
is-
Andrew
it is like-
Santino, right?
John Cena and Zac Efron.
Yeah.
I don't know who the other actors are.
Isn't the redhead Andrew
I seriously-
Santino the comedian?
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but hey, that could be him because there's a redhead in it.
That's him.
But I honestly
Me.
was sitting there eating a bagel. I never expected that movie to be funny because it's, John Cena and Zac Efron. Didn't expect it to be that funny, and oh my god, I almost died when I started choking, and my throat's been just screwed ever since. Like all around here, my whole throat is swollen and it hurts. Like so, my voice comes and goes. But back to Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, Ross said it all. He's he got excellent speed, good hands, strong hands. Can he's got the contested catches and stuff, but and like you said, he's a work in progress. Needs to work on the things that like route running and stuff. But the one thing I worry about is he beats the corners in the NFL. Like he's never double covered. He's never facing the top corner in college because he had neighbors on the other side of him, right?
Hmm.
So now going to the NFL, like he's a good number two, but I don't see that he can be. He might not. His big year came with neighbors, so I don't know if he can be the number one guy anywhere. He's without working on all this stuff. So Tyler out.
Well, I do think that he can develop into the number one guy. Obviously, you only have that 1 year production, and there are some limitations to his game right now in college. I think he was the deep threat, and he does that very well. He's got the speed, the ball tracking ability, the contested catch ability. I mean, it goes to show with 17 touchdowns alone, like he has a knack for getting in the end zone. So I like a lot of parts of his game, particularly around like as a vert threat or on like a deep crosser. Like great, in terms of what he needs to improve on route running. I think that he is a good route runner already, just due to his speed. But if he works on pacing it a little bit better, turning that speed on and off in and out of his routes, I think that he could be a little bit more deceptive. And sometimes, like you could see, like some of the angles that he takes, it makes it a little bit more difficult for himself. And I mean, maybe that was just kind of their game plan at LSU, with Malik Neighbors. But you see a little bit more limited route tree as opposed to a guy like Rome Odunze. But I do think that they're very comparable. I do think that he can clean a lot of those things up. And be a solid starter. He has all the potential in the world to be a wide receiver one and be one of the best receivers in this class. It's very, very close, but I still think that Odunze for sure would be my pick over Brian Thomas. So still great player, love him, and I think that he's firmly entrenched right where he's at right there at 4. So
It would have been nice to see. I've seen him do the agility drills, just to
mhm.
see where he is in that scale. Like you said with Malik Neighbours, how fast is he? With Brian Thomas, it's more of a weakness I see, and see if he is agile. We just didn't see it there. So not that makes him a bad player, but it's maybe just one thing that I'll be looking out for. Maybe at his pro day, maybe when he gets to the next level, if he's got that agility.
Yeah, just to validate what we see on tape, because I mean it's all there, and who really cares what the numbers are? If you can do it, you can do it. But it's just like, okay, like he should have some elite agility scores, and I don't think that he's going to be have poor numbers in that. It's like he's ducking it for the pro day. I don't think that at all. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I do want to see him check that box. But all right. Let's move on to our fifth and final prospect, and then we'll rank them and go through our sleepers. We had a couple of guys because I think that Brian Thomas is right at the top tier of this, this second group of guys. But we had a few we went back and forth between on. But I think that Keon Coleman is a good guy to discuss because he's a pretty polarizing player. A lot of mixed reviews on him. Some people love him. Some people don't like him at all. Some people think he could be a borderline first-round pick, and others think he belongs in the third, more in that like 10 to 15 in the class range. So Keon Coleman's coming out of Florida State, only 20 years old as a junior coming out. He's 6'3", 213 pounds. His RAS score, very good, 9.18 out of 10. Poor speed score with a 4.6 140. You'd like to see it a little bit faster, but conversely, great 10-yard split and elite explosion scores too. So 2023, 50 catches, 658 yards, and 11 touchdowns. That was for Florida State. He transferred from Michigan State, my alma mater, where he had 58 catches for 798 yards and 7 touchdowns last year or the year before. So there's a lot to like in Keon Coleman's game. I think that 40-yard dash time is kind of something that sticks out. Some people have the impression that he's a little bit of a slower prospect, but what do you guys think?
Yeah,
Any thoughts,
I
Tyler?
really
Yeah.
like this guy. I think he's a highlight reel circus catches. They're amazing. He's probably the best in the class, I think, at contested catches. I mean, he's got the big, strong hands and great catching abilities. So now he does need that. He needs to be good at contested catches because he really lacks separation, and he needs to be in a good system with a really good offensive coordinator who can use the scheme to get him open sometimes. Because again, he lacks getting that separation. But yeah, other than that, I think this guy is, something he can work on. With his lack of separation, he'd probably fit perfect with the Patriots. I know that's what they look at when they're drafting. So, but yeah, I like him. I like him. I think he's an intriguing prospect. So,
I think he's a very misunderstood player. So, Tyler, I agree with everything that you said there. He does at times lack separation. He does have all the circus catches, the contested catches, and he's very good at that. What concerns me is that you cannot make a living off that in the NFL, especially if you want to be a wide receiver one anyway. But I don't think that's where he's going to succeed. If he is going to succeed in the NFL, I think you look at his short area quickness and his agility. He does move pretty well for his size. I've got no issues with his explosion and his speed. I know he didn't run a good 40, but I don't care about that. I care about how he plays on the field. But it's not just the speed, it's the agility, and the lateral quickness and the stop-start ability. And I think his route running in sort of short and maybe intermediate areas is really underrated. He's got really big hands and he doesn't really drop the ball in space as well. And I think he really excels after the catch. He's so hard to bring down and he's so elusive. And not only just like dodging tackles, he's hurdling tackles. He's shrugging off defenders and he's outspeeding them as well. So I think he's got a lot of abilities in the short and intermediate area of the field. And I hope he goes to a team that can use him in that way early on and he can develop his skills, maybe more refine him as a route runner. And I think my comparison for him to have success early would be Michael Pittman or Michael Thomas. And just in those middle areas of the field, get him open early, get a quarterback who can get him the ball quickly, and let him fly. And then he may develop later on into a complete wide receiver. But I think he's a bit misunderstood and thinking the only thing he's got is the circus catches. I think he needs to go somewhere, like Tyler said, in a good system that gets him open and utilizes the skill set that he does have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree with both of you guys too. And I mean, I followed Keon Coleman pretty closely because he was a dual sport athlete in college, which is pretty rare. His freshman year, he played basketball and football. And ultimately decided to go with football as his main sport. And Michigan State's quarterback play back in 2022 was absolutely atrocious, and he still stood out as the best player on that offense, on that entire team. So to lose him as a transfer to Florida State this past offseason, it was a pretty solid hit. I didn't like to see it, but obviously followed him this past year at Florida State, and I mean, he just kept doing what he always does, man. I mean, he's that true X kind of guy. I mean, we don't need to discuss more about like his contested catch ability because he has no problem just going up against two defenders and just plucking that ball out of the air. But what's really surprising about him is just how shifty he is. Ross, you were talking about like the agility scores and, just what you see on the field, like straight line speed, 40-yard times, like, yeah, it's something, but it's not everything. I'd rather have a quick, agile wide receiver over, that straight line speed kind of guy. and you do see that on tape. When he has the ball in his hands, I mean, he's not afraid to get physical and body a defensive back. He's not afraid to put some moves on him. So he moves really well. His ball skills are great hands. It's just the speed thing is like the one thing that you could say, but I mean, I just don't even think that big of a deal. What's more concerning to me is him as a route runner. I think that he could be a little bit more effective. I mean, you see him just kind of get to his point, and he's not super tricky with it. He's not trying to shake those defenders, but I think that's something that's very coachable. I mean, sometimes he does struggle up against press coverage, but at the same time, when the ball's in the air, it doesn't even matter. You could see on tape the acceleration and the speed is just not a concern to me. I think he's a great wide receiver, very misunderstood, and needs a little bit refinement. But at this point, when you're a late first round kind of guy, everybody does. I love the Michael Pittman comp as well.
Yeah, and I like what you said about the press man. Like, I did see a couple of times where he was getting jammed at line of scrimmage, and cornerbacks were getting two hands right in his chest and knocking him off balance a little bit, and disrupting his route. But like I said, if he can get in the NFL scheme him open, maybe put him in the slot a little bit more, give him a runway to get open quickly, then yeah, he can reach his potential, and he could be a useful fantasy asset early. The other one was Rashee Rice, not in terms of build, because Rashee Rice is a little bit smaller, but just in terms of usage and being a useful fantasy guy early, because you've got those skills, get the ball in your hands and run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you're not always going to see press man in the NFL. It depends on the team
Yeah.
you're playing, but you're going to lose reps every now and then. These guys are professionals too, and I mean, he was playing in college and you're seeing that, but still, I mean, it's not super overly concerning to me. From what I've seen, I mean, you can't teach what he has talent-wise, and there's a couple of things that need refinement. The one thing is, like, back in the day when I wasn't really doing PPR leagues, I really just looked for those big classic X guys, the ones who are going to get the 10-plus touchdowns a game, and that's exactly what he is. But now I've started to shift a little bit more to I want the good route runners. I want these PPR machines that are going to get the 100-catch seasons. So I think he's more of an 80 catch, 10 touchdown kind of guy over, the 110 catches, 7 touchdowns. That's kind of how I profile him as. But yeah, I mean, he's got all the talent in the world to be potentially a wide receiver one at some point in his NFL career. So, all right, let's go through our rankings here. We just went through the 5 top guys of the class and our opinions here. So, Ross, how are you ranking them?
So Harrison, number 1 for me. Then I've got Odunze, and then Neighbours, and then Thomas, and then Coleman. So I'd say a tier break between 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, and then probably another tier break between 4 and 5, to be honest.
Okay. So you got Neighbors and Thomas in the same tier then, in that tier too.
Maybe I misspoke. So I've got Harrison, tier break, Odunze, Neighbours, tier break,
Gotcha.
Thomas, tier break, Coleman. So
That's
tier
fair.
break again for one more.
Mm-hmm.
Tier break.
I like it. What about you, Tyler? Where's your tier breaks?
I got MHJ tier
That's
break.
not going to catch on, just so you know. I don't think anyone's calling him MHJ.
MHJ.
No. I don't
It's
think
too
it's going
much,
to
too
work.
mouthful.
MHJ.
No, I don't like it. It's Marvin
Okay,
Harrison
so-
Jr.
So MHJ. Okay, how about this? I got Marv.
I like
Marv
it
won.
better.
I got Neighbors. Oh, sorry. Marv 1. Tier break. Tier break. Another tier break. Neighbors. Adunze. Tier break. Coleman. Thomas Jr.
Okay. It's a little spicy with the Thomas Keon Coleman, but I like it. Might not be wrong there. For me, I've got Marv Hare 1. I'm not going to do a tier break here because I do think that Marv Hare, Neighbors, and Odunze are very close, but it's really tough between 2 and 3 for me. I'm going to put Neighbors at 2, and I'm going to put Odunze at 3, and that could easily change depending on landing spot. I just, like I said earlier, I want those guys who are more of like the PPR machines, and I think that Malik Neighbors, like his yards after the catch ability, Now that I'm saying, I mean, I know that Adunze is going to be such a PPR machine too, get those like 10 targets a game. So it's so close, but it really just comes down to landing spots with those guys, honestly. I mean, they're just neck and neck, in my opinion. But Marv Hare, Neighbors, Adunze, tier break. Then we're going to go Brian Thomas and Keon Coleman. I like both of them. I think that Brian Thomas definitely has a step up on Keon Coleman. And there's a couple other guys who are in the conversation with those two as well that maybe we'll discuss in just a minute here.
So you guys like to stick
Indeed.
together, eh?
No, I went with you. I took
No.
Neighbors and then Odunze.
Yeah, but then you switched Thomas and Coleman.
Well,
I'm
you
well
had
down on
the
Coleman
spicy
as well.
take there. Yeah, I like
I
Coleman.
guess
I mean,
we're all different.
yeah, we are all different, but I won't fault you for your picks,
We
Tyler.
can
I
be
won't fault Ross
different
for his either.
now.
It's totally fine. It's
We
totally
can
fine.
be
But...
totally different now.
All right, Tyler, let's hop into these sleepers here. We're going to start with you this time because I want to follow Ross because I got a bone to pick with him.
All right. I didn't get the stats on what he did in college because I never care about what they do in college for stats. But I got Ladd McConkey. Great route runner, speed and explosiveness, finds ways to get open and extremely high IQ as a wide receiver. It's just amazing. Kind of guy a quarterback really likes, you know. The only problem is he's small everywhere. Height, hands, penis, vertical weight. And he had injury plagued couple seasons, although last year was pretty good. So he ran a 4.3940. He's only 22, but again, with the small measures, he's only 6 feet, 185 pounds. But Laddie McConkey, I like him. Plus, I'm really hooked on the name.
How do you know
I
his
think
penis
he's
size,
yeah.
for one? Let's get that out of the way with.
What?
You said he's small everything. You said small penis. I heard you say it.
Yeah,
Where are you getting this
yeah.
intel?
I talked to his girlfriend.
Okay, gotcha. And she would just
You
give you
gotta-
that information?
Hey, man, when I scout these guys, I scout them, okay? Like, I know everything there is to know about these guys, okay?
How does she look?
She's pretty hot, blonde.
I believe it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I like McConkey too. I mean, we talked about him on the International Football Bros podcast as well, but he's just a very well-rounded wide receiver, surprising speed, quickness, good hands. He's just a very well-rounded guy. He's not just your classic white slot kind of guy, so he can play outside as well, so I like him.
I had a good comp for him as well. I had Emmanuel Sanders. So if you look at both players' athletic profiles, yeah, and that's why I was laughing that you chose him. It was really funny, but I really think that's one of my best comps that I've came up with.
Yeah, I like that.
I was just looking through players of a similar size. And yeah, and for me, I'm a bit down on McConkey because if you think about Sanders' career, would you take him in the first round? And that's where you see a lot of buzz. And I don't know if it's just from fantasy analysts who really like him or putting him in there. So I'll wait until the draft and then I'll reevaluate my opinion on McConkey. But I think I'm a bit down on consensus for him.
Hold on one sec, Ross. Corbin, do you understand the Manny Sanders?
I mean, I kind of started like right at the tail end of it, so I know you love Emmanuel Sanders, but
you know what happened when I joined Roster Wars?
nope, haven't heard the story. Let's hear it.
My first RFA, Ben was still in the minors, and it was me and him going head to head. I had done a dispersal, and I had got all these. I had like over 300 Warbucks, and we went head to head for Manny Sanders, and I got him for 70 Warbucks.
Oh my God, what
And
year was
everybody
this?
like 2018, I think.
So what was he, Saints or was that still Steelers?
He was with the Broncos.
Broncos.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But yeah, here's a part of me also heard a lot of rumors that Bill Belichick loved him and he was going to the Patriots, so that's one reason I really wanted him. But he also, yeah. So then I had all year I'd be like, "Did you hear what Manny Sanders did?" So
All right, it makes a little bit more sense now. But I do like that comp because he is kind of that do-it-all guy. But it also raises the question, Emmanuel Sanders, fantastic NFL wide receiver, and he had plenty of valuable fantasy years too, and then some down ones as well. But he always had a spot in the NFL for years. That's why I couldn't even remember what team he was on because he bounced around so much. But it's kind of like Brandon Cooks. He might not be the best every single year. But, I mean, he is going to bring value to any team that has him. So, and I see McConkey kind of the same way. So, I like the sleeper. He was definitely up there for me as well. What you got for us, Ross? Who's this year's Puka Nacua?
My guy, yeah, well, there's a lot of pressure. So there's actually a couple of guys I like. I'm going to go for a man who I think is actually a very similar body type to Puka Nacua, and it's Javon Baker out of UCF. I'll tell you a bit about him. I just looked up his stats because I know you like to go through the stats. So he's UCF. He was a senior. He had 52 catches for 1,139 yards and 7 touchdowns. So a good year. He was a 4-star recruit. He was in Alabama. He was recruited to Alabama out of high school, then transferred to UCF after 2 years of no production in Alabama. But what I love about him, and he's got excellent body control and balance, and I think that's something that really translates well to the next level. I think he's got really good hands to snatch the ball out the air, and he's just like a fluid mover in general. For his size, he's already sort of preparing for the run after the catch when he catches the ball. And what he does is he's quite mature and sort of polished for his age. I think that he uses his body really well to get a little bit of separation when the ball's in the air, and uses late hands as well to sort of catch the ball and not alert the defender that the ball's coming. So I really like him. I think he's potential wide receiver 1 at the next level. Not right away, and I'm not promising it, but I think there's maybe 6 or 7 guys in this class who have the potential to be wide receiver 1, and I see him as one of those guys. Now, draft pedigree is going to be critical for my fantasy evaluation of him, so I don't mind sharing my sleeper right now. I'm not going to pick him in the first round, but if he's a 5th round pick again, I'll be disappointed. I think he can maybe sneak into the 3rd or 4th round, but check him out, Javon Baker.
Yeah, that's a guy that I haven't heard of, so no, I like you bringing some of the spicy takes, and now obviously you have the credibility with Puka Nacua under your belt too, so I got to look into him a little bit more. He's some guy that I have not looked into him at all. First time hearing him, to be honest.
Having ranked above Keon Coleman as well, so there's another spicy take for you.
All right.
Did he break his jaw?
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't go that deep. I'm not into you.
He's got braces, and he's got a huge scar, right here, like this. It's gonna affect his beard when he grows one. Yeah, poor guy. He's got kind of a lip thing here too. His lip sticks up.
You need to get style on the jaw.
A deformity, and you're trying to insult his disability. Is that what you're saying here?
No, he doesn't have a disability.
I haven't looked at him, but it sounds like you're talking about a cleft palate when you got the lip up like that.
Oh, no, it's not like that. I'm just saying it's might be because he's talking.
Shit,
might be because he's talking. I don't know. I mean, he's not a hair lip. Is that what you're saying? You think I'm saying he's a hair lip? No, and hair lips became cool with Joaquin Phoenix having one. So, yeah.
No, I didn't mean to offend you there, Tyler. I was just busting your balls, man. I feel like you were deeply hurt by that. Well, yeah, I'll definitely have to look into him. Like I said, I don't know too much to contribute or comment on, but if Ross likes him, he's got a track record here, so pay attention, folks. But now he also has a track record of hating on my sleepers. So, Ross, any guesses on who my sleeper is this year?
Bubble butt himself, Xavier Legette.
It is the bubble butt Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. Now, why don't you like Xavier Legette?
I don't think his game is going to translate to the next level. I think he's a contested catch guy, and I don't think that translates well. I think he had no production for 4, maybe 5 years in the same offense. None, not even a little bit, and progressively getting better. He had none until his senior year. So is he just a little bit bigger and stronger than everyone he's playing against. And then when he gets to the next level where everyone's bigger and stronger than him, he's not going to have much success. That's my biggest concerns. But you tell me why he's great.
Well, I mean, yeah, the production really wasn't there until just this last year. Only one season of production, which is, a little bit of a red flag for me. But I wanted to stand out because there are guys like Adonai Mitchell and like Troy Franklin out of Oregon that I love, and I would take those guys over Leggett. But I mean, there is so much to like too. And one thing that I really look at that means a lot to me when I'm analyzing these guys is the Senior Bowl. And he was one of the top guys at the Senior Bowl. Jim Nagy, he runs the Senior Bowl, and Louis Riddick both raved about him. He's just a do it all kind of guy. He's not just that jump ball specialist because he is, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's crazy talented. I mean, you see him put on those circus catches like a Keon Coleman or like a Roma Dunze. So he has really good body control. He can pluck the ball out of the air. He had a 9.88 RAS, so that he's an elite athlete. Now, he ran, I think, a 4.45 40, 10-yard split. Could be better. It was still a good score, but I care more about the 10-yard split than just straight line speed. But I mean, he's got deceiving quickness. He didn't do any agility drills, but you can just tell by watching the tape that he is quick. He can make guys miss, not just with being physical, but using his speed too. So I mean, you see him make these sideline catches, the toe tap catches. So I think it's really just going to translate to the NFL. Good hands. Really powerful runner when he has the ball in his hands, like a running back. And you kind of made fun of the Deebo Samuel comp, but it's really not that far off. I do think he's a lot like a Jonathan Mingo. And Mingo did not produce very well in his first year. But, for someone who's 220 pounds and he could still run a 4.45 40, I mean, he's got crazy power. Once you get the ball in his hands, I mean, you can get it to him on a screen. You can get him to him on the deep ball. I just think he's so versatile, and the upside is just there that to spend, a mid-second or a late second-round pick on the guy, and you can do a lot worse than Xavier Leggett. Plus, if you ever heard him talk, he sounds just like Foghorn Leghorn. That accent just does not match up. So check it out if you haven't heard it yet. It's something to see.
All right.
All right. So...
Wait, one sec. One
Yeah.
sec. We have breaking news in the Rising Rookies. Did you see the trade?
No, what do we got?
We got Baker Mayfield going from the Crunch to the Legion for Justin Fields and a 7th-round pick.
Wow.
Wow. Lost a lot of value very quickly, Justin Fields. I'm sure
Well
Mike was
done,
shopping him
Legion.
around for multiple firsts.
Yeah, I'd take Baker Mayfield, honestly. At least get a starting quarterback.
Yeah,
For the
one's a
next
starter,
3
yeah.
years, you don't even know if Justin Fields is going to be the starter. It's going to be Russell Wilson to start off, I'm sure, and then maybe they switch to Fields. But
Well, I'm seeing a lot of rumors that they're already looking to re-sign Wilson at the end of the year.
I don't know why, but we'll see. They haven't even gotten him on the field yet, and they want to re-sign him. I don't know. Not buying that, but give me Baker over Fields in a 7th.
And then there's reports that 4 other teams wanted Fields, and they were offering better offers, but Fields wanted to go to the Steelers, so Chicago did him good and traded him there.
Oh, yeah. Well done, Bears. That's the right move for your organization.
They got a luxury of picks and talent.
Yeah, they may as well just give Fields away for free. I don't think they're in a position to do that, but so be it. I don't trust all the smokescreen reports that are out there. I also heard that they weren't getting the offers that they hoped to. So for them to settle for a 6th-round potential 4th-round pick, I mean, that's just crazy to me, especially if you have Russell Wilson and they just don't have to play Fields, and then boom, you get him for a 6.
I think they're probably getting a little better offers. I mean, Desmond Ridder went for more than Justin Fields, so.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you got, 2 more years of Ridder as opposed to just 1 year of Justin Fields? Because they're probably not going to take that 5th-year option on Fields, so it's 1 year
Absolutely
for Fields
not.
or 2 for Ridder.
Yeah, I guess so.
But Bears had to move on from him because he'd just be a distraction with Caleb Williams coming in, so he had to go at some point, and at least they got something, I guess. Less than I
I'm
thought
glad
it
we
would be.
can
I thought
put
it'd be
that.
at least a third.
I'm glad we
Right.
can
I
put to
just
bed the Bears keeping Justin Fields narrative. That was tiring for me. But yeah, now
Yeah.
Williams
yeah.
number one, definitely, 100%.
Now
Yeah.
what's Legion Mike gonna talk about?
He's ready
What's
to
he
move
gonna?
on.
What's going on with Fields today? Good stuff.
Indeed. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, we'll be back talking about the ever so talented edge rushing class. So stick around. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. See you later.